This video will be looking at the chance topic of understanding probability. And I've taken a few questions straight from a central assessment just to have a look at how to tackle these questions. Now, a lot of the questions at the start will rely on this here, and this right here is a line, a probability line that talks about the likelihood of certain events happening. If something were to not happen at all, it's deemed impossible, and this has a numerical amount of 0. Where on the other end of the spectrum, where something is certain, it's certainly going to happen, it's considered as a 1. Now, just a little sideline, this can also be written as a percentage. This is 0%, and this here is 100%. Okay, and then you have the things that are in between. When something has a half chance or an equal chance, is a 1/2, 0.5, or 50%. Something has a quarter of a chance, or 0.25, or 25%. It's unlikely to happen. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, it's just unlikely to happen. And then the opposite of that, likely, is a 3/4 chance, or 0.75, 75%. So when we have a question here that says which probability has the least chance of occurring, out of the 4, we're looking for the fraction that's the smallest. 2/10, 9/10, 5/10, or 7/10. In this case, it's 2/10. Okay, so 2/10 is the lowest out of all of them. You can also think of it in percentage wise. This is 20%, 90%, 50%, and 70%. So 20% being the lowest out of all of them. How I got that percentage, you can just put this fraction into your calculator and times it by 100. Okay, and this also works with the decimal as well. If you have a decimal that's given to you in the form of a probability, you can just times it by 100 and this will give you the percentage. Neat little trick to help you out. Next question here. When Andrew and Scott play a tennis match, the chance of Andrew winning, I'm just going to put A, is 4/7. What is the chance that Scott will win the next match? So Scott, what's the likelihood of Scott winning? Well, if Andrew had a 4/7 chance, Scott will have a chance that's also out of 7, and it's something that when added to 4/7 gives me 1. In this case, it's 3/7, okay? Because 4/7 plus 3/7 gives me 1, which is all of the outcomes here, okay? This right here is called the complement. This is a complement. And just like in real life, when something complements you, it just means they work hand in hand and works well. The complement of 4/7 in probability terms is 3/7. So how we can work this out, another way is getting 1 and subtracting 4/7. And this will give me 3/7. This, you can just use your calculator to work this out. So our answer in this case is 3/7. Next set of questions up here. The chance of catching a fish is 0.2. What is the chance of not catching a fish? Now remember, 0.2 is a chance of catching a fish. And the likelihood of not catching a fish, whatever that is, again has to equal 1. Where again we're looking for what's known as a complement. The only difference is we're looking for it in terms of a decimal. So what we can find out is what 1 minus 0.2 is, and that will give us 0.8. So the likelihood of not catching a fish is 0.8. If you want to put this in fraction terms, the likelihood of catching a fish is 20%. So the likelihood of not catching a fish is 80%. Because all up, that will equal 100%. Last question here is we're going to drag the probabilities from least to most likely to occur. Now the only problem is we've got some of them in decimal format and some of them in fraction format. So to make this easy, what we should do is, if we use our calculator and times every single one by 100, times every single one by 100, it should give the answer in the form of a percentage, okay? If it doesn't, if it still shows a fraction for whatever reason, use the SD button to help you out. So in this case, 0.6 is 60%, 0.2 is 20%, 1/4 is 25%, 0.4 is 40%, and half is 50%. And now that we know the decimals and the fractions in the form of a percentage, there's consistency all the way through, we can then just put these values from least likely to occur to most likely to occur, as it says in the question here. So the lowest number is 20%, and you will just go ahead in your program and drag 0.2 to here. Then you will go 25%, which is 1/4, 40%, which is 0.4, 50%, which is half, and then the 0.6, which is the last one, okay? Sometimes you'll get questions where they'll have a mix and matched up. They give you the question in percentage and decimal and fraction. In this case, you want to find the most easiest way to be consistent. Just put it into percentage form, because if it's in decimal, you just times it by 100. If it's in fraction, again, you just times by 100, and you might have to press the SD button to change it if it's still in fraction form. If it's already a percentage, you just leave it as is. And that concludes this video of understanding probability.